don't care about the scoring accolades. I don't care about the reputation. I just do what's needed to win. My mentality was I was better than him. How's he playing university? So my coach said, if you deserve that spot, I better see you in the gym 3 times a week. They only had to take 3 Canadians. Most of those guys were Americans, and there's like 6 Canadians fighting for a spot, and I beat them out. I'm happy I'm there, but it's not good enough. Until I'm the number 1 team or the number 1 player or Winnipeg's won something, I'm not happy.
And even then, are you happy? Welcome back to Two for Rise podcast, a.k.a. the number 1 podcast in Winnipeg, where we document the rise, stardom of Winnipeg's talent and personalities. There's more than 6 words, but thank you so much for listening, watching, viewing, subscribing. Hit the subscribe button. Crazy guest today. I think you're going to like it.
Let's bring on our guest for today. He's a professional 3v3 basketball player who's ranked 8th nationally in Canada. Here to talk about his journey, please welcome Wyatt Anders.
Let's go. Wyatt Anders.
The man himself.
So many people, like
I know.
20 people in the studio.
Hey, we are a packed crowd, especially on an 8 a.m. on a Saturday. We packed. Welcome to Two for Rise.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you here. First of all, you walked in. You're huge.
Bro, I
don't know if that's the right way to start it.
I stood next to him, and I'm like staring up like this. How tall are you? Just for
6'7", but
6'7".
usually after that statement, people say pause.
Oh,
Nice. Have you always been this big?
No.
what a wait.
I would say probably growth spurt in grade 11.
Sure.
After like the summertime going into grade 12, so I had to get used to my body. Maybe that played a factor on not being good enough. But I would say that the height definitely helps in basketball, especially for 3-on-3.
Of course.
Awesome. So let's get started. Let's dive into the conversation. I know I gave you a little introduction on who you are, but if you do want to give yourself a little introduction and let our audience know what you do and where you started.
That's so tough because that's like a big loaded question depending on what path I go down.
Yeah.
But just a simple overview is that I had no recruitment offers. I had the red shirt for college, and I made it to a full scholarship, full ride at U of M, to someone that was averaging a double-double and borderline all-star, then went pro, decided I don't want to play 5-on-5 pro. A lot of guys are all in it for their own stats, just not my style.
Sure.
So I came back, finished my degree, played pro 3-on-3 in the summer, played for the national team, and now I'm just coaching, reffing, and playing pretty much.
Okay. So let's go back to, let's say, were you born in Winnipeg?
Yes.
So what was the growing up in Winnipeg like, and especially the basketball scene then in high school, and talk about what that was like?
That's I'm privileged. I would say that I grew up a little bit in St. James than Charleswood, so I didn't have any financial struggles like other athletes would have had.
Sure.
My family was pretty set, so I do recognize the privilege I had there. But everything in my control, I worked for. So as much as I wasn't strong, I was super skinny in high school. I wasn't that talented. Like the program set up in Manitoba aren't targeted for those that are potential or those that need to be better. It's targeted for those that are already at the top. So the programming never fit me. Like provincial team selections, always the first cut, easy for them, right? And the difference was I didn't go home and cry. I went home and said, I suck, I need to get better. And the biggest thing is a lot of people use it as an excuse, and then they get fueled by their support circle. And we know how important your circle is. So if your circle goes, screw it, man, like they shouldn't have taken you, that's fine. You do something else. No, like my support circle would have been just like, no, you're going to get on something better. Like you're going to do better. And so a lot of people, like my thought is they use excuses, and that's why they don't get where they need to. They blame others.
What was that initial drive for you? Like, I know being an athlete myself, like I've been cut from teams, man. And I've used that. And I'm like, you know what? Next time I'm going to come back and I'm going to make that starting lineup or something like that. Yeah. But what was that initial drive for you in saying like, hey, I didn't make it, but you're like 15, right? 15, not making the teams. You're a kid. But why was that like drive always there for you?
I just really loved the game. And plus I really love to compete. So if I wasn't competing in basketball, I was competing in Halo 3, which I was the top-ranked player in Canada, which is silly. But
okay.
I'm just very competitive. And I thought it was a bad thing because all my friends in high school said, you're too competitive. You got to stop, right?
Yeah.
But if I reflect back, I go, no, it's the opposite. I love the competition that I brought. But I would say at 15, it's really hard to have that mentality because everyone's still maturing and developing. And I guess I'm just someone that just doesn't give up.
I love that. That's amazing. So when did you fall in love with the game of basketball? Has it always been since you're a kid? 2 years old, 3 years old. I know some athletes have these crazy stories. They're like, I've been shooting hoops since I was 2 years old, since I was walking.
Were you born to play?
Any of those kind of stories?
I don't think so, to be honest. I was playing soccer.
Okay.
And I really loved soccer. And I was a defender in there. And so I was always taking pride in stopping the offensive players that were there, where my goalie didn't have to worry. And that was my skill set. And then I guess because my parents wanted a cheap alternative to keep you active, like hockey's super expensive.
Yeah.
Usually that would be one of my sports, right, because Canada.
Sure.
But I'd played no hockey in my life, and I skated once in my life. So a heated gym in the wintertime where it's cheap to play, easy thing for my parents. They just threw me in basketball, and then I fell in love with it.
You know, I'm a soccer athlete myself. You know, I grew up playing soccer, and I still do. Did you, like, where was that shift from going from soccer? Like, what made you say, was it just like the money aspect of like, hey, basketball is much cheaper? Or was there like, I think I'm like taller than most people on the field. I think I belong in basketball or something like that.
Well, believe it or not, I was supposed to be 6'1" in middle school when they did my foot to height ratio, like the doctors and that. But I wasn't. I didn't get my growth spurt till late. So height didn't benefit me early. But basically what happened was they just put me in basketball and kept me there. And me being a competitor just wanted to be better. So I stopped playing soccer.
Okay. And then you went on to play which high school did you play at?
Silver Heights, which became Sturgeon Heights.
Sturgeon Heights. And what was that experience like? What was the tryout process? Like, did you try out grade 9?
I did. I tried out grade 9, was the manager. So wasn't even on the team.
Sure.
Made it in grade 10, bench player. Played for Tacky. Tacky's one of the hardest coaches I've had to play for because of the conditioning aspect, and I hate conditioning. Grade 11, quit during tryouts because I didn't want to be a part of the team. Sure. Didn't think I was in the right shape when we were doing things, and I thought that was detrimental to the team. And then in grade 12, made the team, came off the bench, became a starter, and then made it to the provincial final. Not because of me, but like.
Yeah.
What was that process like for you, like mentality-wise, like not being able to start, being the manager, then bench player, not playing? That's like as a young teen, that like affects you.
Yeah.
But what was that process like for you?
I just didn't care. Like, obviously, everyone builds on the accolades. Like, in high school, that's your social currency.
Yeah.
If you're a starter, doesn't matter how bad you are because fans don't know.
Yeah.
All you have to do is hit 1 for 5 and you're a star.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We know that. Like, you've seen teams, they pull up, they take bad shots, like players, and they could shoot 20% and they're the star at their school and people love them because they don't understand. So the social currency of starting, I just didn't care. I didn't care about popularity. And that's tough for kids these days, is that they think it relies so much on your Instagram likes, your Instagram followers, people messaging you, Snapchatting you. I just didn't care. I cared about winning.
That's a good mentality to have. And then what was like the practice during like in high school? Were you grinding it out, and is that where you learned your foundations of like putting in the work and getting the results?
I actually learned how to be a better basketball player when I went to my first year of university. In high school, I wasn't that grinder I am now, where you put in that extra work and you go in the summer times. No, I showed up to some runs. Whenever the gym was open, I shot. I was part of their basketball academy. That was like my development and playing like community basketball. But when I went to university, I thought I was done with basketball, but you know what? I got contacted, said, hey, they saw me at those open runs at U of M. U of M used to have like a Frank Kennedy run. They may still do.
Sure.
And one of them that used to play at those runs actually coaches at CMU and said, hey, come redshirt, try it out. He loved me on the team when I redshirted. So then what happened is in the summertime, I told him I'm better than some of these high school teammates I played against. So like Braden Duff, who's not playing basketball anymore. Now, if I reflect right now, Braden Duff's better than me. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
At that time,
Sure.
not now, at that time. But my mentality was I was better than him. How's he playing university? So my coach said, if you deserve that spot, I better see you in the gym 3 times a week. We're going to go weightlifting for an hour and a half, and then we're going to do skills for 2 hours. So I bust there and back every second day in the summer and grinded for about 4 to 5 hours before I played my first university season.
Wow.
So that's when I learned about the grind.
What was that like for you being a student athlete and then making your way from redshirt to starting lineup?
That's not only did it feel great, but the biggest thing was school. It's hard to balance school and athletics. Most people, I would say, get a reality check in their first year because in high school, we can get by with 70s and 60s or whatever with doing minimal work.
Yeah.
Teachers, in order for them to fail, you literally have to do nothing and not show up. And you've seen classmates go, hey, how did you pass?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not hard to get to uni because they want your money.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get there, now you get your reality check because teachers don't care there. You're one of 300 students.
Yeah.
You don't hand in your stuff, you get a 0, we get your money anyways.
Yeah.
So that was the toughest thing is you're no longer babied and you have to learn how to study. Just like you have to learn how to grind on the court, I have to learn how to grind off the court. And I give credit a little bit to Kirby Shep, who's at U of M. And basically what he told me in his story was that he was so competitive, he wanted to be his classmates in school. I thought school was boring, no offense, but he told me he wanted to beat them out. And then Amir said the same thing, and he's like, I'm smarter than you, I'm smarter than you. And so now I took that off-court mentality in the classroom where I was studying to be better than every single one of my classmates.
In all aspects of life,
Yes.
right? And how important is being a well-rounded player, both on the court and off the court?
Huge. Like that's what got me helping my teammates for a full scholarship because I was an academic All-Canadian, which is a certain grade point average in playing basketball. The university was able to offer another teammate a full ride because mine doesn't count anymore.
Okay.
So originally to go on the team, I was offered a full ride, so my scholarship. But since I'm academic All-Canadian, I'm no longer counting towards how many they can offer. They can offer my teammate one as well. So basically the academic All-Canadian was a personal success, but it also benefited the team.
Okay. So are you always set on that team mentality? Be like, I know you said like you had to pull yourself out in grade 11 because you thought you weren't fit enough for the team, and now like you're helping your teammates out, you're giving them scholarships. Why is that so important for you?
I'm just a team-oriented guy. Like, if you look at my full career, only at like CMU was I the go-to player, and that changed at U of M. It was more so I had the ball, but I was trying to get my teammates open. I basically looked at what our team needed for success. So whether that's I need to rebound and defend more, whether I need to score more, and if you ask any of my 3-on-3 teammates, they hated playing against me but loved playing with me. And part of that's because I get under their skin.
Yeah.
I'm very good at that. But also, I do all the little things for our team. I don't care about the scoring accolades. I don't care about the reputation. I just do what's needed to win. So if you ask any of my coaches, any of my teammates, they'll never say that I was selfish. They'll say I'll always do the things required for our team to win.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of athletes, like the person who comes to mind is like Michael Jordan. People hated him.
Oh, yeah.
Even as a teammate and against, like playing against him, but he's considered the greatest of all time, or is the greatest of all time. Was there any inspirations like that as a young age, or once you got into university that you looked up to?
Yeah, I would say Michael's no excuses drive and his competitiveness that he would bang on his like teammate's door at 5 a.m. to go golf because he lost, and then he would go to the court and have one-on-ones and just never want to lose. Then there was also Bill Russell. No one here will probably know who that is.
I've heard of him.
All I'm going to say is that he was on the Celtics. He's the guy that had 11 championships.
Mm-hmm.
And basically he scouted his teams that he's getting recruited to see what they needed. So I played more like Bill in the sense that I looked at what the team needed and provided. but I also had the drive that Kobe and Michael have, that everything's a competition. I don't care if we're playing pong. I'm going to want to beat you.
Of course, yeah.
Doesn't matter the game. I want to win everything.
You know, nowadays, everything's getting soft. You know, they say, oh, you got a participation award for just participating, or you're good enough.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? I want to get into that because, I mean, like, I'm a competitive guy myself. Like, I get competitive over Jenga, you know? Like, that's how competitive I am. So what's your take on, like, the winning aspect of everything in life?
Everybody wins. You know?
Yeah.
You show up, you win.
It may be good for, like, those that are 5, 6, like, those that don't know if they want to play sports.
Okay.
Like, you know, those kids that, like, get unmotivated because they didn't get any encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
The issue I have with American basketball is they put everyone in positions, okay? If you look at the European model, doesn't matter if you're 5'5", doesn't matter if you're 6'7". You're all learning all the skills. That's why the Europeans that come in the NBA, like Jokic and Doncic, they have such a wide variety of skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
America's, you could be playing as a 10-year-old and you need your championship banner. So it's great to be competitive, but coaches sacrifice player development for wins. So, for example, if we're all on the same team here, if I want to win, you're putting me in the paint. You're probably a guard. You're probably a small forward. And the guys off scene they can't see a shooting guard and power forward.
Sure.
Now, that may get you a win, but that's not best for our player development.
Yeah.
So when we talk about participation medals, they have a place for those that are young to get them encouraged and staying with the sport. That's their external motivation. But when it comes to middle school area, no, you got to put that to the side.
Yeah, of course. And you got to learn as well. Like, sometimes you got to go through those failures to learn what success really feels like. And so what was many people play basketball or sports, they just do it as like a hobby, right? They're like, oh, this is a good exercise. I get my exercise in. And even if they play in high school and maybe even university, it's just like a leisure time. When did it become like serious for you and be like, hey, I want to go pro, or I want to do something serious with this basketball thing, and I think I can do it?
I think my second year of university, it was still up in the air, but some of the coaches and teammates I've seen who went pro, and I could play like that division. Like, to be honest, pro's not that hard. Okay. Depending on where you go.
Sure.
You could go play Division 7 pro in Germany, which is like Division 1 senior men's here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Where you pay your own way, you don't get paid, you just have a jersey on. The pro I played was in the Canadian League, where you only have 3 roster spots for Canadians. And I beat out like 2 D1 guys.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as it's a Canadian League that not a lot of people watch, they don't realize that when I went to their training camp, it's not 10 roster spots for Canadians and 3 import spots. It was the reverse. They only had to take 3 Canadians. Most of those guys were Americans, and there's like 6 Canadians fighting for a spot, and I beat them out. Then ironically, like a month later, I said, hey, I'm done. So I felt bad because I'm like, thanks for giving me a spot, but I don't want to play anymore.
Why did you make that choice to pull yourself out of the Canadian League?
That's the thing, is that the moment was I was on the bench, and the coach was like, we need defense and rebounding. So I watch a guy from Wake Forest. He didn't get the ball on offense, so he didn't run back. No one's ripping into him.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, that's just how it is. People took more pride in getting the ball on offense, and when they didn't, they wouldn't play defense, they wouldn't rebound, they wouldn't play hard. And then on the bus, when we were taking our bus back to the hotel, they're grabbing the score sheet and taking photos of it and sending it to their agents, going, hey, I almost had a triple-double here. Now, that's the nature of it.
Sure.
They want to get out of that league and go G League and NBA. But this is not my style, because now everyone's selfish. They don't care about the wins. They care about themselves. Mm-hmm. And me being a team guy, I don't want any part of that nature. So
just a question, how much is that like put on the coaching, and how much is that put on individual effort?
It flips when you get to pro.
Okay.
Because as a coach, if you're not winning, you get cut.
Sure.
So as a coach, you try to figure out what's the best way to win, and you can't step on stars' egos because they can also push you out the door. You've seen that in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like Dwight Howard pushed Stan Van Gundy out of Orlando. So as a coach, it's really tough on the pro league because all they base it on is wins.
Okay.
And you have to figure out how to get your star players bought in, and you don't want to step on their egos. You do that, they might want to leave, they might want to not play anymore, and now it's harder to win. So I would say it's on both.
Okay. You know, every kid's dream is to make it to the league, whether that's NBA or professional, wherever you're playing. What was that feeling like when you made it?
That's a great question. I don't think I took it in like others would have, to be honest. Every time I've hit an achievement, maybe that's the downfall of my life, is I take a short celebration, then I move on. Like when I made it to U of M, happy, moved on. Got a starting spot, happy, moved on. Went pro, happy, took it in, moved on. Because it just wasn't good enough. Every time I've achieved something, it's not good enough. For 3-on-3, I've been to South Korea, Bucharest, Slovenia, the UK, all these places. I'm happy I'm there, but it's not good enough.
Sure.
Until I'm the number one team or the number one player or Winnipeg's won something, I'm not happy.
And even then, are you happy?
I would say I would take that a little bit longer. That might be my retirement because I'm like, I finally achieved everything I wanted to do.
Sure.
But there's always something ahead. It's kind of like an Xbox or a PlayStation achievement trophy list that you're not getting the full gamer score until you complete all tasks. And I guess I'm a perfectionist because it really bothers me until I get to the next one.
Yeah.
So I finish one, go to the next.
Hey yo, we interrupt this episode to bring you today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online community with thousands of classes in design, business, tech, and more. Anyone can join the millions of the members in the community to learn cutting-edge skills, network with peers, and discover new opportunities. If you'd like to support our show and are interested in Skillshare, click the first affiliate link in our description to get your 14-day free trial on us. It's quick, easy, and you can cancel it anytime. Now back to the episode. Is it always like, what's next? Like that mentality of like you're never content with your life? It's like you're always looking for that next level?
Yeah, it's a gift and a curse because I'm not taking the joy of what it is, like that achieving that. But it's also a joy in the journey.
Yeah.
Like I do enjoy that I get to work out, I get to travel the world. But what got me here wasn't that. What got me here was, okay, I got that. What's next? How can I get next? How do I get there?
And is that fueled by internal, or is that also fueled by seeing what other people have as well? Does that play a factor as well?
It's internal and external. So most of it started internal, that I love the game, I just want to go. Then the external was, okay, you guys not giving enough like recognition. Like I don't need recognition, but my story is different from anyone else's.
Sure.
The amount of times I've been cut, no scholarship offers. Anyone that doesn't get a scholarship offer after high school basketball, they quit. How many people actually continue to go? Then when they're on the bench, look at all the people that made the team and they're only on the bench. They quit. No one went through the same path as me.
Sure.
So I don't get as much recognition for that until some guys like you ask me about it, right?
Yeah.
And so I always felt like the basketball community, not everyone, there's a lot of people that have supported me, but like the Provincial Basketball Association, all that, I don't feel like I get the recognition that I've put in. But that also motivates me that they don't think I'm good enough for that. Fine. I'll keep going.
I'll show you.
I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah.
I proved my past coaches wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to keep going.
That's killer mentality.
Love
Like that's amazing. Do you transition that mentality into your coaching aspect now that you're also a coach? You've experienced those things. What's coaching like for you, and why did you start coaching?
It's funny because like my mind processes so much. So an example is I coached DMCI girls who I didn't get any practice time for them because the coach stepped away last minute, personal reasons. And when I joined the team and we had our first game, all these issues were running through my head. Like we can't play defense, we can't play help side, we don't run plays, and I have to pick at that moment what's most important. So when we talk about transitioning, it's the same thing on the basketball court as a player. I can see so many things that are going wrong, but I got to figure out which ones are going to matter the most. Which ones do we focus on that will give us the best chance to win? So as a coach, I'm also a little bit of a rigid person because I'll say, hey, this person can't shoot. We're not guarding them all game. you're going to zone up in the key. And I'll say non-shooter because I'll do what it takes to win. So as a coach, I have that player mentality that I want to win, but also I won't sacrifice their development. So if a girl wants to go play prep somewhere, I'm going to fully support them. Other coaches are like, no, what are you doing? You're going to make a mistake, because they lose a star player, which means their coaching record goes down. I'm not the type that goes, hey, I'm 50-0. No, I want what's best for the players, but I also want to win.
Sure.
So I'd say I'm still super competitive. I'll outwork every other coach as well.
Yeah.
I'll scout. I'll show up. I'll look at what they do. I'll look through game film. I'll do everything it takes.
And so as a player, you have that mentality. How do you instill your values as a coach into the players? How do you make sure that they are also as competitive as you?
I do give a typical speech when I feel like they don't want to play. That doesn't mean all of them, maybe 2 or 3.
Sure.
I say, hey, I'm perfectly fine if you want to do 5 on, 5 off, 5 minutes, community club type team. Just let me know, because I will reduce my effort and put it elsewhere. If I'm showing up and I'm planning practices, scouting, getting them ready for games, I'm putting in the effort for that team. If they don't want that, that's perfectly fine. I just won't waste my time putting in that effort, and I'll just do a 5 on, 5 off and still coach them. So I don't want to make them do something they don't want to do. But I'm also going to give them a reality check that going, look, not every coach does this. So if this is what you want from me, I'm going to need this from you. Where you just show up, work hard, that's all I need from you. And most of the time, all the girls are bought in because they know that I'm putting in a lot of effort, and all they have to do is show up to practice, work hard, leave. That's it.
That's awesome. So also let's talk about your 3v3 as well, right? So you decided not to play 5 on 5. When did you get into 3v3?
It was near the end of my 5 on 5 seasons.
Okay.
I found out that there's this ranking points and you can travel the world and make money. And so I put a team together. That team's changed faces over the years because not everyone wants to continue playing basketball. So the guys on my original roster aren't with me anymore. I have Stephen Wesley, who played for U of W, that's playing pro. I had Jelaine Price, who also played pro. But the biggest thing with them is they play hard. Yeah. And I told them, hey, we could lose to this team that practices every day. But if we don't play hard, what's the point of being out here? Because we don't have that luxury. Europeans have teams where they practice 3 times a week. Jelaine lives in Toronto. Wesley is from Spokane, Washington. Like, we show up to events just ready to go. Yeah. And we've beaten top teams without any practice. Team practice, not individual practice. Let's be clear on that.
What is that like for you? Like, that process of, like, being so far away from each other and then just coming, is that just natural chemistry that as soon as you step on the court, you're like, let's go, we're ready to win? Like, you've put in the work by yourself now. It's time to show what we can do.
Exactly. I think they're just smart basketball players. And part of it is they're very talented scorers and they're athletic and move on defense. So basically I just go, hey, look, this is what we're going to do defensively. We're going to take away twos. We're going to force them to score over us. We're like 6-7 each, right? Yeah. If they can do that, that's fine. They work their butts off to score on us. Offensively, none of them can guard us.
Sure.
So basically when we go to those events, the reason people have a tough time with us is because we can switch on everything. And for them, they're just naturally talented guys that have high IQ that buy in. So they trust my game plan, and we scout the other teams, and we just show up and play.
How do these 3v3 competitions work? Do you have to buy in to play, and then what is, like, the prize pool at the end?
So depending on what team you are, like, we have to compete for scraps, which means Canada and America don't have a lot of tournaments. Okay. Europe has so many tournaments, and teams buy in there. We literally have to win our Winnipeg tournament, which we've won the past 6 or 7 years. Then we have to win Canada Quest or finish top 2. Yeah. Then we get to go to a Masters to make money. Yeah. Basically, all I'm saying is that, like, some teams buy in. We don't. We have the hardest path because America is so out of fix with 3-on-3. Just because it's starting in Europe and America is starting to catch up, they don't really buy events, which is what you need to do to host. So we have to win Winnipeg. Then we have to go finish top 2 in a Canada Quest. Then we have a chance for a Masters. They could play one tournament, be in a Masters. And why the Masters matter is because first place is 40 grand American, second is 30 grand, third is 20 grand. And we've placed, I think, fourth twice, fifth once. And that usually has all the top teams in the world. Yeah. Then if you finish first overall in the season, you get 60 grand. So you can make a good amount of money. And this is all American, of course. So the top team could make easily 300 or 400 grand American in a season. And you split that 4 or 5 ways, right? So you can make 100 grand through 3-on-3.
Wow.
And then free gear and travel, and they cover everything else.
So why did you decide to take that switch from 5-on-5 to 3v3? What was that like switch for you?
Way more fun. 5-on-5, you can run up and down, not touch the ball in 3 possessions.
Yeah.
We know in 5-on-5, people get lazy. 3-on-3, there's no lazy time. You go score a bucket, now you have to go play defense. There's no checking the ball. It's quick, 12-second shot clock, live through the rim. So you need to be versatile. Guys like LeBron, not saying I'm LeBron, would be ideal because you can switch everything, you can do everything.
Yeah.
Guys that are very one-dimensional typically don't succeed in 3-on-3.
Okay. And what is like the turnout looking like of 3v3? What's the hype around it? Is there a large audience base behind 3v3? And are the events packed or whatever?
Yeah, depending on where you go. Mongolia, Philippines, like Philippines had a 3-on-3 tournament out of their mall. So there's like 3 levels, everyone staring. You could see it on the stream, like so many people watching. India's basketball league, they have so many fans watching. It's only really in Canada that no one cares.
Yeah.
Like they hosted an Edmonton mall, like West Ed Mall once, and that had some views. But Canada doesn't really care. America cares a little bit just because they love sports. But if you really want to taste, go to Europe, Asia. Like, they really support their teams and their events.
How does 3-on-3 work? Are you guys doing, like, a street ball kind of style where you're, like, checking the ball and then it's half court? Or is it, like, full court back and forth?
Half court, but only check on violations and fouls. So everything else, if I go score, you could run past your teammate and they could just chuck up a 3. So it's fast pace. It's a lot more exciting in that sense, but it is half court. Yeah, I would say that people don't know it much in Canada.
Yeah. And are you calling your own fouls, or is there a ref? Or
There's 2 referees at the highest level.
Okay.
There's a 1 referee at the lower one.
Makes sense. We interrupt this episode to bring you another sponsor. If you've ever considered building a website, you've probably definitely heard of Squarespace. Squarespace is an online web designer that allows you to create your website from scratch using a wide range of templates. If you want to build an e-commerce site, a small business, Squarespace got it all. Click the affiliate link in our description to start building your website today. You'll be helping out the show and also creating a killer website to flex on your peers. Now back to the episode.
It's great. You have this great setup. I don't know when those lights come into play. That must be like some special rise at night.
Show them what the lights do.
Show them what's up. Are they set up? Link them. Or maybe after the podcast we'll get popping in
special
here.
rise at night edition.
It's in the morning. It's usually 9 a.m. in the morning. 9 a.m. in the morning, we're raving in here, man. People like the nightlife, we like the morning life, you know?
It's, people talk about that wake up at 5 a.m. The only benefit of 5 a.m., in my own opinion, is that no one's up at that time.
Great.
So no one's going to bother you. No one's going to notify you. But it's the same thing at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're an early riser or a late sleeper. Those are just dead times where you're not going to be bothered by text messages, phone calls. So waking up at 5 a.m. just to go, hey, that's going to make me better, it's not.
It also depends how much work you put in, right? Like your time.
Thank you.
If you wake up at 9 and don't do anything till 12, then like, okay, it's not worth it. But if you wake up at 5 and you start right at 5 and just, I'm a 5 a.m. waker. I wake up at 5 a.m. But that's just because it's peaceful in the morning, get to see the sunrise. I have a nice view outside my window. It's a nice view.
When do you go to bed?
9 a.m. or 9 p.m. Sorry, 9.
There you go.
Right.
Who goes to bed at 9 p.m.?
He does.
Right. So
9, 10.
I've always hated those thoughts and those mantras saying you need to wake up at 5 a.m. If you don't work hard.
Yeah.
But those people that are up till 2 a.m. working their tails off at night because the gym's open or whatnot.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when you wake up or when you go to sleep. It matters the hours that you do
how much
things.
work you put in.
So I've heard so many people go, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm going to make a difference. No, just put in the work. Everyone has the same amount of hours. What are you doing with your life? That's all it is.
That's a great mentality.
That's like it comes back to Kobe, and I've always like listened to his story, and he's like, I've wake up at 5, go to the gym before people are waking up, and then already do my workout, eat, and then go work out again or something along those lines.
No.
Do you believe in that? Like, it's more important to work and then like schedule your life based on that, or is it just work consistently?
You need rest time. So when we talk about Kobe, rest in peace, of course. They don't realize that he does have rest time. Like, he'll wake up, work out, eat, work out, sleep. He might have like a 1.5 hour sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Then wake up, do work, sleep for an hour and a half. If you think of the mentality, it's kind of silly as humans that we sleep for 8 hours straight. Why are we sleeping for 8 hours straight and then being awake for 16 hours? That's the right math.
Yeah.
When you could actually split it up. Kobe did like probably 4 hours one night, but 4 hours throughout the day. Because as an NBA player, you can nap whenever you want, pretty much.
Yeah.
So he just put in the work when he was awake. Now, there's also some people that only need 5 hours of sleep versus 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean he didn't get his rest.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. What is it like in terms of, when we talking about the Mamba mentality, a lot of people like to show their Mamba mentality and not actually do it, especially with the whole like social media realm. What are your thoughts on, like, let's just put in the work, I don't need to show anyone, let's just like work, versus documenting all that and just doing it for social media or whatever?
That's what Wes and I, who's my best friend, have done all throughout COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Is he might have posted one story of us in the gym together.
Sure.
But that's it. Because we just work and we don't care if people know or not. We know that Instagram does not show your ugly moments. And some people show the ugly moments because that also gets views as well.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's just a fake lifestyle. Everyone seems they're happy. They're not going to post their terrible moments.
Oh, yeah.
No one wants to see that. So it's just all, what's it called? A fake wall, like a mirror, a mirage. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not true, but for us.
It's a highlight reel of your
Yeah,
life. Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. That's what people want to see.
Yeah.
But don't base your life off of others through what you see on Instagram or whatever you use. No one uses Facebook anyways, so.
Preach. How would you, like, what would you say to those 15-year-olds that are like, you know, they're athletes, they're growing up in the social media world where they'll see other 15-year-olds, for example, get like Nike deals or something like that, right? They're showing, oh, we're working, but are they actually working? What's your like take on that for young athletes? Be like, okay, comparing myself to others, I'm not as good. What would you say to them?
First, they need a strong role model in their life, because their coach or their role model should be saying it doesn't matter where someone else is on their journey. If it mattered, I wouldn't be pro right now. It's that simple. So I actually have a relatable story. But for them, it's really hard for them to get out of that mindset, because that's life as it is now as a young athlete. But I always say that focus on yourself. Get rid of the losers in your circle. Like, we know that your success is not only yourself, but who you surround yourself with. So if you're surrounded with losers, you're probably going to pick up their habits and be a loser as well. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people that made it sacrifice, like Jason Kidd, wouldn't go to parties. He was in the gym shooting. Kobe was the same. So if that's the life you want, if you want to make it, you're going to have to make sacrifices you're not going to like.
Mm-hmm. Also, when people play like basketball, right, when they're starting off, it's not much like a business oriented. No. As you get more pro, I'm sure you've experienced this as well, it becomes more businessy, right? There's more like a business end behind it. You're talking about like coaches getting fired, not like pays and everything. Yeah. Has the business side affected you, or have you what have you seen about the business side of basketball?
I had a little bit of a glimpse in the NBL. The most extreme example would be the NBA. But at that time, like, I just didn't want to be a part of it. Sure. And it's hard to play as a team if guys aren't bought in. Like, the Spurs have been bought in because the organization top down was built that way. And that's why they had so much success, is people would sacrifice themselves for the system. Not everyone has that mentality.
Of course. Now, you were on the CTV Sport Athlete of the Week. And you can pull that up on the screen if you want to watch it. But we'll play it in a bit. But in that video, you talked about maybe potentially taking your team to Olympics. If I'm not right, or if I'm not wrong, sorry. What inspired that dream?
Well, I did represent Canada in Puerto Rico, so I've always been considered as a player on national team. Like, I got an email just yesterday about rounding out a top 6 roster, and they're in talks about me being on that roster. But it's tough because there's already other players competing for those spots. So I think maybe in the next 2 years, there's a strong chance that I might be a part of the Olympic squad, and we just have to win that qualifying tournament to go. But it all depends on how my body reacts, right? Like, I could say I want to be there, but if I'm not performing well and my body's done, then maybe it's time to stop. I just go as long as my body will allow me.
What's the practice looking like now in terms of rest, and how are you recovering, and how are you practicing now?
Well, I've done my own research so I could train myself. And when I say I've done my own research, I'm not searching Facebook and watching articles, okay? Because that seems to be the theme these days.
Yeah.
I actually spent the early parts of COVID when everything was shut down and there wasn't a lot to do. I printed off research articles and went through them, read them, highlighted them to find what an optimal workout and practice plan would be for me. And then I started with a base of 4 days a week of off-court training. Then I moved it to 3 days. So I do an upper body, lower body day for strength building. Then a speed day, so working on transitioning that strength to explosion and speed, not to be too nerdy with it, turning my type 1 muscle fibers, which is slow twitch, I believe, to type 2, which is fast twitch, which allows me to explode and attack quicker. And then if there's time, depending on my schedule, the 4th day would be a hill thing where I'm working on sprints up the hill, low impact, low frequency, but also high improvements or gangs. And then practice, sprinkle and practice whenever I can, go shoot. I just came from a run, got my nose hit where I was bleeding, so I was just happy it's not crooked, not broken. I have a long nose already, so I don't need it to be to the side as well. So yeah.
Wait, did you run this morning?
No.
Oh, okay.
Last night I was like the nose didn't stop bleeding for a while, and I was like, oh, dang it! I hope I don't have to cancel. And then finally, I used the pinch the nose technique and held it there for like 15 minutes, and then had a great night's sleep, and then I'm good to go.
That's what we like. we love that. How are you balancing that life as a teacher and a pro athlete?
It's not easy.
Because you're also a teacher, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, he's also a teacher.
So what I put up, like I said on there when they asked, I basically teach all day, and in my preps and lunchtime, which normally people do to rest and talk to each other, I go to my own room and do all the marking or any prepping I have. That way I can't take it home. Then when I get home, I usually do a workout, either by myself or if Wes is in town, we work out together. Then I usually have reffing. So whether it's a university game or a senior men's or high school game, and then potentially coach. So either I coach or ref in the afternoon or evening, or I do both. And then shooting is sprinkled in on the times that are free. So if I don't do both, then I'll go coach a practice, and near the end, while the girls are stretching, I'll just shoot.
Yeah.
I'll just get my rhythm. I'll go get reps up, and that's usually how I put it in. I just sprinkle it all together.
Your students probably think you're like the coolest person ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine like having my teacher be like,
he's a professional.
I play for.
They trash talk me.
Do they?
They do.
They get you going.
I guarantee any of them that even watch this, if they do, they know they trash talk me. And so I asked, because it's COVID, I asked the admins, is it all right if I go outside and play? They said yeah, so I took 2 days out of my time, and I said, look, anyone that wants to play me, will play. And I said, if we play one-on-one, none of you are scoring. I'm telling you right now. I'm not letting you score.
How old are these kids?
12. They're around 12 to 13, but I think that's the age group, like 12 to 14, because it's like 7 to 9.
Yeah.
So I'm competitive, and I told them, look, if we're playing, you're not scoring.
Of course.
But if it's 5, you might have a chance because I can't guard all of you.
Sure.
Yeah.
As much as I'm tall, I'm leaving someone open. So I've played 5-on-1, and I've won 7-0. I've played 4-on-1. But when I was even in high school, like teaching, that was 2 years ago when I was teaching at DMCI, they had open gym days.
Mm.
And I would go, you want to play one-on-one? Sure. And I would play kids one-on-one.
Yeah.
And it's usually how you get your respect in the inner city. And that's why some people struggle to coach there, because the guys need you to beat them for them to listen to you. Girls will just listen. So it's silly because when I ran a drop-in and I won in the summers, they didn't know who I was, so they didn't listen.
They didn't respect you.
They're like, you can't play. I'm like, check up.
Yeah. Let's go.
Check up.
Yeah.
And I hit shots, drive by them, dunk. They're like, can you coach me? Literally, that's the next thing that comes out of their mouth. Can you coach me?
The flip switch.
Exactly,
Right
because that's their respect. So if you're going to coach in the inner city, most of the time you need to earn their respect by beating them in basketball, and then you have their respect and relationship for the end of the time.
Awesome.
What's the future looking like for you in terms of your professional career, and any advice you can give to the young athletes that are coming up?
I'm surprised you didn't have that question prepared, because that's a really good question.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to continue with 3-on-3.
Yeah.
Now, I've got my body where I feel like I'm fresh out of high school again, where I'm very athletic. I feel. I'm not saying like Dwight Howard, Giannis athletic. I'm just talking about like for a white guy, pretty good athleticism. So because my body's there, depending on how this next 2 years go, I might play in a 3-on-3 league or a 5-on-5 league. I might make a return to that type of basketball. Sure. In addition to that, it all depends on COVID, right? So if leagues are going again, I don't want to go get sent home and then lose out on money. So if I get to play with Wes, who has an opportunity in China when things open up, if I get to play with him and the money's right, I will stop teaching for a brief period and go play. But advice for kids, stop letting excuses allow you to give up on what you're doing. And I say no excuses because, as I said earlier, doesn't matter if you're a player now or your circle or someone that used to play. Everyone uses excuses and just allows that to fuel their fire of I'm done. So, for example, you may get cut and you go, no, the coach didn't see that I was good. And then you give up. Like, no, if the coach didn't see it, either that coach is wrong and you need to prove them wrong, or you need to work hard and play for someone else, because that's not a reason to stop.
Absolutely.
And people use that as a reason. I got cut, so I should stop. I didn't get any offers. I should stop. And then what bothers me is those trainers that come and say, hey, if only I knew this, I would be so much better. I would have made the team. No. Do you think Wilt Chamberlain and Michael went, man, if I knew I could do a 0-1-2 step, I'd be so much better? No, it doesn't matter what you're teaching now. At the time, did you use what was needed to be better? So if you used to play university 10 years ago, you're like, man, I would have got more playing time if I did this. No, because there was tools out there for you to be better. You just didn't use them. So don't say that you have this magical technique that's going to make a player better. You just didn't work hard enough. Yep. And if you go height matters, I've had probably 4 guards over time that were under 6 feet. Ilarion was probably like 5, that would be disrespectful to him. But he was under 6 feet. Walton, who was a Canada West All-Star, under 6 feet. Mike Holloway, very great teammate that I have that's coaching in the States. I think he might have been 6'1" at best, right? Then there's U of W, Andrew Cunningham. So a lot of people say I'm too short. No, you just weren't good enough. Look at the rosters.
Yeah.
Short guys on plenty of teams. Even in the NBA, you just weren't good enough. You didn't put in the work.
It all comes down to, like, how bad do you want it, right?
Yeah. Don't use excuses. Be the hardest worker in the gym or the room.
I like that.
All right. On that note, I think this is a perfect way to end off the podcast. Thank you so much for watching, viewing, and listening to our podcast. We're available on all streaming platforms. We're back on YouTube, so check out the video vlogs there. And if you haven't already, make sure to check out Wyatt Anders. You might never know. You might see him in the Olympics in like 2 or 3 years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And until next time, we're live every Tuesday morning at 11:30 a.m. on the UMFM radio station, 101.5 FM.
Oh.
And until next time, peace.
Let's go.
Great job, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
You didn't even have to adjust my mic. I must have been loud enough, huh?
Right.